Hi, this is Barry here, and you are very, very welcome to today's episode of the Passion to Profits podcast. Now, in today's podcast episode, I want to talk about fixed mindsets and growth mindsets, and why you should have a growth mindset and not a fixed one. Because if you have a fixed mindset, you can be almost guaranteed that you are not going to be successful in building a business around a passion. Now, if you find that you have a fixed mindset, that isn't something that can't be changed. You can change it. You just need to look at things differently. Now, the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset is, as probably their names describe. When you've got a fixed mindset, you think that things are fixed in concrete, that things can't change, and these things are you. You look at yourself and you say to yourself, well, this is me. This is as good as it's going to get. I'm not going to develop more talent. I'm not going to develop more talent. I'm not going to be able to improve. So you think that you are just simply fixed. And like a piece of wood, you can't change. Now, a growth mindset is the opposite. Having a growth mindset makes you realize that you can develop more talent. You can develop more abilities. You can develop more knowledge. And you can change. And by having a growth mindset, it's going to allow you to be more successful in your passion business. So what I want you to do is I want you maybe just to think for a moment and just ask yourself, how do you see yourself? Do you see as someone who will never be able to build a business around your passion? Do you feel that you can't develop more talent, more abilities, and be able to do the things that other people do? Now, the reason I bring this up is because a lot of us, as we go through life, reach a certain point of our life where we say to ourselves, well, I'm never going to change. This is as good as it's going to get. And I was finding myself in that situation years back that I didn't like being in. And I didn't want to think that from that age to the grave, nothing was going to change. That every day was going to be the same. And it was just going to be a kind of downslide into the graveyard. And that kind of spurred me on to do a lot of things that I do right now. Because I wanted to see, well, what could I do? And from that, I wrote fiction. I create a podcast, I blog, I create digital products, and I do a lot of those different things. Even though at the time, I thought that that version of me back then was as good as it's going to get. And it really angers me sometimes when I meet people who believe that they can change. Going back to my fiction writing days, sometimes I used to bump into people who would find out that I was publishing fiction books, and they would ask me, well, how do you do it? I've always dreamed of writing a book. I've always wanted to do it. And how do you do it? And what I used to do was I used to sometimes talk to them maybe for 20 minutes, half an hour, give them all the single steps that they would need to do to go from nothing to publishing a book on the Amazon Kindle store. And then at the end of that conversation, I would be met with something like, well, I'm too old. I've never been good at English and I can't see I'm not going to improve. And, all that stuff sounds, that technology, that's way ahead of me. And it's something that I can't do. And in that moment, that fixed mindset that they had, that nothing could change, that they couldn't do it, just shut down that dream in flames. So if you do want to build a business around your passion, you do need to break down this restriction on yourself and to see yourself as like a piece of clay that can be molded into different shapes, that you can change who you are. Now, a book title that I like to think of when it comes to a growth mindset, I can't actually think of the author's name off the top of my head, but the title of the book is that everything is figure outable. And what the author means is that, again, as it says in the title, that everything is figure outable, and that if you don't know how to do the thing that you'd like to do right now, you can be guaranteed that someone else has already done it, has already figured it out, and then what you can do is you can just copy the actions and what they did to overcome that problem. Or if there isn't anybody around, which is very rare, most of the problems and challenges we have already been tackled by someone else. So there's either a YouTube video, there's a book written about it, but there's some content out there that we can use. But if you find that that knowledge isn't out there, by having this idea in your head that everything is figure outable means that if you keep trying again and again and again, you'll be able to crack that nut and you'll be able to get through that problem. So you need to remember that everything is figure outable, and that's going to allow you to use this great brain of yours instead of thinking that nothing can be changed, there's no solution, and I just want to give up. Now, what I'd say to you is one way to look at things with a growth mindset is to see challenges as opportunities. Again, a lot of us sometimes see challenges as challenges. We see them as a cul-de-sac, a dead end, a point that we can't go beyond. And this challenge is a lot bigger and harder for us to get through, and that we're not good enough for the challenge. What you need to realize is that sometimes those challenges are put there as opportunities to make us grow, as opportunities for maybe us to try something new. And you could find that maybe something you're about to do right now will be challenging, but you can be guaranteed in the beginning it's always going to be hard. But over time, as you do it again and again and again, you're going to find it's not going to be as challenging. And you're going to find that sometimes if you do reach a challenge that you can't get through, that could be life just stepping in the way and tapping you on the shoulder and saying, here, don't go this way. I want you to go this way as well instead. Because if you go this route, you're going to find another opportunity. I remember hearing about the great Dan Kennedy one time, who was having really problems with his business. And he was focused on route A so much that he didn't realize that there was a route B. But by him actually faced with a challenge that he couldn't get beyond, he had to rethink what he was doing. And by him rethinking what he was doing, suddenly he saw another opportunity that was a route B, and the route B was actually a better route for him than the original route that he was banging up against. And you need to see that with opportunities. And sometimes those opportunities or those challenges are put in our ways to show us a better route that we should be taking. So see opportunities as learning rather than a cul-de-sac or a dead end or just something there that's just stopping you from having the life that you want to live. Another thing you need to realize too when it comes to a growth mindset is that effort is needed to bring success. Again, a lot of us who have these fixed mindset believe that it's talent or that it's knowing somebody or that, everything is given to other people but not to us. But you need to realize that having a growth mindset means that there is effort in achieving success. And if you want to achieve success, you need to put effort in. And even the most talented person in the world, if they don't put the effort in, well, that talent is wasted. Now, I'm sure you probably know somebody yourself in your own life that is talented, and that talent is just wasted because they're not using it. And then you've got someone else who isn't as talented, but who is working like a dog, trying to overcome the challenge, trying to get better at the thing they'd like to do. And that person is way ahead of the person who has the talent. So sometimes having talent isn't the be all and end all. And you need to realize that if you are going to get better, if you put the work in, you will improve, you will grow. You'll become a better version of yourself. You're going to break out of this fixed mindset. So you need to see that if you want to have success, it's going to require effort. And it means that if you focus on the only thing that you can focus on, which is the amount of work and the amount of effort you put in, you'll see the success. But if you think that all the things outside you are there to stop you, that the rules are already made a certain way that you can't be successful, well, then you're never going to be successful because you're putting all the responsibility or all the blame out here. Whereas if you take it all back to yourself and realize, well, if this is going to be success, it means I have to put in the effort. It means I need to be consistent. It means I need to be persistent. It means I need to put the work in because I know over time of me doing this again and again, I'll get better at it. I'll probably uncover talents and abilities that I didn't realize was there. And it's only going to come about by me actually putting the work in. Another thing you need to make to make you aware of as well when it comes to having a growth mindset is you need to look at mistakes in a different way. Again, we look like challenges. We see a mistake as something that has to be covered up, something that we need to be ashamed of, something that we don't talk about. And we're afraid of making mistakes. But what you need to realize is that by making mistakes, you're going to find out things about the thing you're about to do. You're going to find out things about yourself. You're going to find out that some things don't work. And then what you do is you just go back to the drawing board. You try something different. And then either it works, or if you have another mistake, well, then you try something else out. But each time you try something and have a mistake, you just go back and you try again. And by having this new belief on mistakes, that you are happy to make them, that you are happy to make as many mistakes as you can, because every mistake you make is going to allow you to learn something, is going to build your resistance, your persistence, and build character in you. You're going to see mistakes as different. But again, people who have got a fixed mindset look at mistakes as something that we shouldn't do. We should be embarrassed about them. We should try and cover them up. We shouldn't talk about them, because the last thing we want to do is to talk about mistakes. But having a growth mindset will make you look at mistakes the opposite way. It'll make you realize that the only way you're going to learn, the only way you're going to get better is by making mistakes. And the more mistakes you make, the better you're going to get faster. Now, another thing you should think about as well too is when it comes to this little voice in your head that sometimes really holds us up, because it comes out with something negative, saying something like, you can't make videos. Who do you think you are to do that? A great word to add on to any little thing that the little voice in your head says is add the word yet. So instead of saying, I can't make videos yet. Or if you say, I don't have the ability to make videos, I don't have the abilities to make videos yet. And by adding that little yet at the end, it keeps the door open. It makes you realize that, you know something, just because I can't do it now doesn't mean I'm not going to be able to do it next week or a month from now or 6 months from now, that there is a window of opportunity open to me. But if you if you give that statement without that little word on the end, again, it's going to look like a closed door. You're going to say, I can't make videos. Now, I want you just to say those two things. I can't make videos and I can't make videos yet. Now, the second one has a little window of opportunity. It doesn't seem like it's a dead end. It doesn't seem that it's a point that you can't get across. But by listening to that little voice, we allow it to be in charge of us, of what we can do and what we can't do. Again, in my own case, go back years, I had that little voice telling me that I couldn't do this. I couldn't write fiction. I couldn't do videos like this. I couldn't have a podcast. I couldn't blog. I couldn't create digital products. I couldn't make money online. And if I had have listened to that little voice, I'd still be here. Thankfully, over time, I grew that growth mindset. I added that little word yet on the end of it, and realizing that everything was figure-outable, and that at one point I would be able to figure out how to do it and be able to do it. And that's the reason you're watching me here in these videos. Now, what I say to you as well too is that a growth mindset is going to allow you to become more resilient, because you're going to see challenges as opportunities. You're going to see mistakes as learning opportunities, and you're going to see yourself as somebody who isn't fixed, who can get better, who can improve, who can develop new skills, new talents, and new abilities. Now, if I saw myself as someone with a fixed mindset, I'd have no resilience, because the first challenge I would come up against, I would say, well, I can't do it. I can't get beyond this point. There's no point in me trying on, and just throw it all away. Or if I look at a mistake and say, well, there is another mistake. Oh God, I'm embarrassed. I can't post that video. I'm so embarrassed about that blog post or that mistake I made. If I saw a mistake as a mistake, well then again, I just give up. I run in the opposite direction to the mistakes. But because I'm going to see mistakes in a different light, see them as learning opportunities, seeing them as something I'm learning about myself and something about the thing that I'm doing, it's going to make me persevere. It's going to make me try again. And as well too, it's going to make me realize that things can improve if I put the effort in. That, okay, maybe I could be terrible at videos right now, but if I put the effort in, if I show up consistently, I have to improve. I have to get even a tiny little bit better every time. And if I do this long enough, you're going to find that graph is going to go up and up and up. And by having a growth mindset, it's going to make me more resilient to those challenges, to those mistakes, and to that little voice. So again, I just ask you, maybe just think for a moment and just ask yourself, be honest with yourself. How do you see yourself right now? Do you see yourself as something that's fixed? Or do you see yourself as something that can grow, that can change? And as I said, this difference in your head can make a huge difference into your business. It can keep you going, or it can stop you in your tracks. And as I said, over the years, I didn't realize that I had as much talent, ability, and things in me at the time because I never tried those things because I was scared of it, because I saw those things as challenges, as things where I was going to goof up, embarrass myself, make mistakes, and that I wouldn't be good enough. But over time, I wised up and developed this growth mindset. And as I said, that is why I do so many things as I do right now, is because I've changed my mindset. So if you have a fixed mindset, you really need to look at it. You really need to change it into a growth mindset so that you will have more success with your passion business. So as always, I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. If you have any comments or anything you'd like to leave below the video or the content, please feel free to do so. And as always, have a lovely day. Take care. Bye-bye.